law school really doesn't prepare you for real world learning. It helps you think, it helps you in many other ways, but as far as running a law firm, I didn't really get that much experience in law school.
We have Chad Van Horn here, Van Horn Law Group, bankruptcy law. Tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm Chad Van Horn, went to Nova Southeastern University Law School, go Sharks. Came out and started a bankruptcy firm, Van Horn Law Group, and now we've grown to over 40 people, and we work statewide helping people with their debt.
So I've kind of like watched your career trajectory, at least from kind of like the sidelines, because I was always, a young trial lawyer, and we kind of graduated right around the same time. But I think you jumped out and opened up your business kind of earlier on, well before I did. So tell me a little bit about that growth and about what it was like when you opened up your own firm.
Yeah, so I'm a first-generation lawyer in my family, so I've always been an entrepreneur. Started working when I was 5 years old, had a paper route with my brother, and so I've always been a worker. It was my goal to once graduating law school, to come out, open up my own shop. I thought I was going to be helping businesses and individuals in a different financial capacity other than bankruptcy, but I got that exposure in when I was clerking in law school. And I came out in 2008, 2009, where everybody was losing their home. The Great Recession hit, and bankruptcy was just a natural thing for me because I was a financial advisor while going to school as well. Hired my secretary Martha, came on board. She had no experience. I had no experience. Now she's running my office. 14 years later, she's the office manager, and we're doing really well, helping a lot of people.
That is fantastic. So, but while you were in law school, you got the experience, a little bit of experience in bankruptcy, and then did you just, as soon as you graduated law school, opened up, just hung up your own shingle?
Basically, yeah. Graduated law school, worked a little bit with the attorney that I clerked with, and then right after that, just opened up my own shop, and. Yeah, it was a wild experience because I didn't have the mentors that other people may have. That if you have family or friends that are lawyers, I had my classmates, which were great, but none of us really knew what the heck we were doing when we first come out, because law school really doesn't prepare you for real world learning. It helps you think, it helps you in many other ways, but as far as running a law firm, I didn't really get that much experience in law school.
There's zero like lessons or teaching or any instruction when you're in law school on how to run a law firm. I mean, it really is. There's not a lot of practical experience in law school. It's like you got to learn through trial and fire and being in there. Mm-hmm. And so, when you opened up your own law firm, like who was it that was kind of guiding you? Like you said, you had mentors. Were there other lawyers at least that ran businesses where you would sit and have coffee and talk and ask questions? How did you do that?
So initially, I didn't really have anybody to go to. Luckily, some of the judges took an interest in me and explained how things work in the real world, if you will, and they would take me aside saying, hey, this is the right way to do it. You don't have to fight everything, because I'm a fighter. So I just went in. I thought you fought everything. Yeah. But as you learn when you become a practitioner, sometimes it's better to just make a deal. It's better for everybody, better for the client, better for the court, better for everyone to make the deal. And then as I grew, there were other experienced practitioners that would grab coffee with me, explain how things work, give me ideas on how to grow and how to become better. So I'm a big fan of mentoring. I've been involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters for years. Without the mentors in my life, there's no way I would have made it to where I am today.
Yeah, I know you, and again, I don't think we've ever really met. We might have passed and shook hands and said hello in different places, but I've always admired and known you, like in my mind, as someone you're a rainmaker. You're out there. You're making business. You have your shop. What was it like when you just get out of law school? Because the younger generation, I don't think they understand it. How hard it was and how much work and time you had to put in to get to where you are today.
Yeah. So fresh out of law school, and I tell my law clerks this when they're coming out. You have to, if a client comes to you and said, why should I hire you instead of this guy that's been doing it for 20 years or this lady that's been doing it for 15 years, you have to have an answer for that, because that may come up in a consultation, right? Yeah. And what I would always say, I'm going to outwork them. Like I'm fresh out of school. I want to help you. and I'm going to outwork whoever it is. And I meant it. And I worked crazy hours. And then I had to find other ways to get to clients, because the traditional way that the older attorneys were doing, they had that market cornered. So luckily I came out when Google AdWords was starting to really come on. I was like, all right, so I love technology, love marketing. Let's play around with this. And it worked. And we got extremely busy very quickly.
Yeah.
And then I had to hire people, which again, they don't teach you how to hire people. They don't teach you how to, interview employees, hire, fire. Like, I remember the first time I had to fire an employee, it was the worst experience of my life. I didn't want to do it. And then I learned over the years, though, you got to make those firing decisions very quickly. It's better for you, your coworkers, and it's actually better for the employee, because if it's not working out, you better end it sooner than later.
Yeah, and I totally had that same experience. I never had to fire anyone for, I was with a firm for 11 years, and it was not my responsibility to do the hiring or the firing. And then with my firm now, I've had to let go a few people. And just like you said, it's like the longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of want to move quickly with it. And like you said, it's going to be better for your entire team, and then it's going to be better for that person to go on to the next thing that they're going to be excited about and thrive in, as opposed to where they are before they're let go.
For sure. I read a book, and I forget who the author was, but he was the leader of a larger company, and he said at the end of every year, he would fire the bottom 10% performers.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the bottom 10%, you're not in the right place. Like, this is not the right place for you. It's easy to be in the top 90%. And that would motivate people to go find maybe what they're good at or find something else. So there's certainly something to that. I don't do that.
I know, right?
But it did make sense in that context. If you're in the right place, you're going to be motivated to try to do great things. And luckily, the staff that I have right now, I mean, they motivate me. It's extremely motivated. And without that team, there's no way we could have grown to where we are today.
Yeah, that's great. And you talked about Google AdWords, and really, like online, the digital presence is so important, I think, for law firms and the people that didn't really understand that. I mean, I always look at a couple different buckets. Like, one is online digital presence. The other one is certainly building relationships with other lawyers, other people that are outside your practice area. I think, because we get a ton of cases that are referred to us from other lawyers who just don't do personal injury. And then we're able to give referral fees. So it kind of creates this like really great, I think, network. But yeah, when that digital online thing opens up and the floodgates open, it's like you got to hire people. You got to keep, because you can't handle it all on your own.
For sure. And there's always new angles, new things coming out. Like we advertise on the Nextdoor app. My wife told me about the Nextdoor app. I didn't even know what that was. And now that's kind of taking off.
Wow.
on its own. And it's a place where usually people go to complain about things.
Yeah.
But those people are potential clients, and I'm in the neighborhood. So these are people that are around me and that get to know me, get to know my law firm. And if they have financial issues, they give me a call.
See, this is why I have these kind of these interviews, so I can write that down.
There
All right,
you go.
Nextdoor app, mental note, check. Okay, that's a great idea. What do you tell, I guess, what I love about I see with your firm is that you're not just in there grinding away, doing all the work. You've put together a team, you've trained a team, and that kind of frees you up to do other things, like you're running for city commission right now. You're doing, I know, a number of other things. You were a contestant on a major game show. What would you tell like that entrepreneur, the lawyer that, and maybe they've been practicing for a long time, but that one lawyer who's running their firm and they're just bogged down and they've got a lot of business, but they're extremely busy and they're drowning? Because I hate to see that. And I know that I don't see that in you and I don't feel it in me. What do you tell that kind of lawyer out there?
Yeah, one of my good friends, a bankruptcy attorney, he's truly a one-man shop. He does it all beginning to end. And his reasoning is, I don't want to have to pay all these people. Yeah. So it's a different mindset, because you need to be in a growth mindset. Making payroll is something that's real, that you have to make the money, and every 2 weeks payroll has to be there. You just need to hire the right people. So what I would do is identify what I like to do, what I'm good at, and what I don't like to do, and what maybe I'm not so good at. And I'd find somebody that is good at that, hire them, and then that frees me up to do more marketing, which I love. I love the marketing aspect. Meet with more clients, do more podcasts, and every time that I would take something away and give it to somebody, I would try to create leaders in each department, and they would manage that department and grow their team. And it really just a growth mindset. But some lawyers, I get it. Managing a business is not easy. So sometimes you just want to be a true solo. And I know a lot of successful lawyers that do that. My path is different. I want to have offices throughout the state, and we do have satellite offices. And going into the potential recession that we're going into, there's going to be a lot more people that need our services.
Yeah. Wow. So listen, since you brought it up, I mean, tell me what are you seeing on the horizon, and how is it? What's the data you're looking at that's telling you that there's this potential recession? Because as we speak right now, the stock market is crashing. Friday, today, it's dropped significantly. I know the job loss, I guess, or unemployment is it's starting to peak again. But again, you have, I guess, the Fed is going to reduce interest rates likely next month. So we're going to see maybe the housing market come back a little bit. But what are you seeing, and why do you think there's this recession?
So last month, we had the most consultations we've ever had in a month, 750 consultations, which, that's up 30%.
Wow.
This year to date, we're up about 40%. Year to date consultations, signups, revenue, every metric. And we're doing the same amount of marketing. So it's not like I'm pulling other levers. I mean, we're doing some TikTok, we're doing some other things, and it's building up, but we're getting a lot more referrals. So when you get more referrals, it's one of two things. Are you going out networking more? Are you building, or are there just more people to be referred to you?
Yeah.
Right? In 2020, February 2020, I got married, and revenues were cut in half in March.
Yeah.
It just fell off a cliff because of COVID. And it took 18 months for business to come back, because we were about to hit a recession anyway, because there's just too much debt in the system. So if you look at the numbers right now, we have the highest mortgage debt we've ever had, highest credit card debt we've ever had, highest auto debt we've ever had, highest student loan debt we ever had.
Wow.
Every category. And you mix that with higher interest rates. I'm seeing 32%
And inflation.
And inflation. Everything's more expensive. Something has to happen eventually. And it's not like people's salary is going like this, or wages are going like that either. So it has to hit eventually, and I think we're seeing the beginning of it now. I don't think it's going to be like 2008. Luckily, many people have equity in their homes, lower interest rates that are locked in, fixed. So I don't think they'll lose their homes like before, but I think you're going to see a significant uptick in bankruptcy filings.
Wow. Well, I mean, listen, and I guess for the average person who's just watching, like, what is it? How does bankruptcy help that particular person? Like, if you're going to be their lawyer, like, what's the benefit of this person who's feeling that stress, feeling the debt, to reach out to a bankruptcy lawyer?
Yeah, so many people wait too long to file bankruptcy because they think bankruptcy is the worst thing ever. Obviously, you need to make educated decisions. So you should know all your options, even the bankruptcy options. Most good businessmen know the bankruptcy options as well, and some utilize it for what I would say are improper purposes. But if an individual is starting to feel the heat, if they're taking from their retirement account, if they're looking at taking equity lines out to pay unsecured creditors, they should at least know their bankruptcy options. Because if you're planning on retiring, you can't borrow against that retirement account, or you can't take money out of it because you won't ever be able to retire. Same thing with your home. Your homestead in Florida is completely protected until you put a voluntary lien on it. So if you take out a second mortgage, a HELOC, Chapter 7 bankruptcy can just clear out the unsecured debt completely, give you that fresh start. Generally speaking, the process is 3 to 4 months, and then takes 12 to 18 months to rebuild your credit. Again, it's not a great thing to do for everyone, but to me, it's a business tool that's going to set you and your family up for financial success in the future.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I never look at it in a negative light, that someone filing for bankruptcy. It's just sometimes you get into a position, and it's there to protect consumers, and then there are the things that they've worked for so hard that are protected. Like you said, you have retirement accounts, you have homestead, you may have life insurance policies, all these different mechanisms that are there so that you have that cushion, but then you're able to get out of this debt. And a lot of the debt has outrageous interest. I mean, like when you talk about a credit card company, it's not like these people are just paying back principal. They're paying back 19, 20%, 30%, some crazy number on interest, right?
Yep. And actually, one of my top referral sources are injury attorneys, because a client comes into you and unfortunately they were hit by the wrong person.
Yeah.
And they didn't have insurance, and they didn't have enough insurance. So now they're out of work because they're injured.
Yep.
They can't recover against anybody because there's nobody to recover against, because the insurance isn't there. The other person might be filing bankruptcy as well.
Yeah.
And they have all these medical bills. And who's going to pay the medical bills?
Yeah.
So that person could do absolutely nothing wrong and end up in a bankruptcy scenario, all because they didn't get hit by a Brinks truck. They got hit by somebody, a stolen car. That happened the other day. Somebody got hit by a stolen car and there was no insurance to cover it. And they had over $150,000 in medical debt.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen too many people end up going into bankruptcy, at least as far as like my clientele. But I do know that there is that major financial stress. And I think financial stress for anyone, like to be able to relieve it, right? Mm-hmm. Like we do have a ton of cases, unfortunately, there's a significant amount, because in Florida, there's no minimum amount of bodily injury coverage that other people have to carry to pay for someone's injuries. Which again, if they're in an accident and they got medical bills, they can't even rent a car. Mm-hmm. Their car's a total loss. So they owned a car that, let's say it was maybe it's a $3,000 car. Now they're getting a $2,500 payment for a total loss, but they're not going to be able to get another car. It's not enough, and that car was just fine. It was getting them around. They were being able to work. And then I've also seen bankruptcy kind of being used as a tool to defend somebody who's being sued. And that's also another situation. It's like an asset protection move for some people, in a certain situation. And it's there to obviously to protect anyone who's in that position.
Yeah, I've been brought on as an expert in certain cases, usually wrongful death type cases, where an individual is working and an accident happens, somebody dies from the accident, they sue the company, and they bring me in to say, okay, if this company goes into Chapter 11, which is a reorganization chapter for bankruptcy, how much money would this individual get? Because they're trying to settle, obviously. Yeah. And I feel terrible for the family and the people that are there, but I have to give them a realistic take of this. I mean, losing the life, $1 billion, $1 trillion. But if this company shuts down, you're just going to get whatever the liquidation value is, whatever insurance is there, and that's it. But if you allow the company to continue to operate and pay from the profits of that, you're going to get more money. And that's what some people don't realize, that Chapter 11 bankruptcy is actually for the benefit of creditors, not really the debtor or the filing entity, because we're showing that the creditors are going to get more money with this entity operating and paying from the profit than just shutting down and liquidating.
Chapter 11 is the reorganization of the business, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. And so they just kind of reallocate how they're going to pay the debt off and kind of get them in a position where they can continue to thrive.
Yep. And Red Lobster just filed, so that's one entity that just went into bankruptcy up in Orlando.
It's incredible that you're able to see just with your own business that the bankruptcy, the people just calling in are up that much of a percent. So in that situation, like, are you staffed to handle that, or like from a business standpoint, are you planning to hire and grow a little bit?
So we are hiring and we are growing. What I do, I have about 3 people in the firm that can work anywhere in the firm. So wherever we get busier, we can float. I'm one of them.
Got it.
So right now I'm just working more. I would love to bring on another attorney, another paralegal, and a couple other people in the firm. So we are actively hiring.
So tell me the build out right now. So you have how many lawyers and staff? What are we talking about?
41 total staff.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Yep. 12 lawyers.
Man.
Yep.
You guys are huge. What's your space like? Are you doing a lot of virtual stuff? Because we have one lawyer that works remote, but you need the space for that is huge. So is that multiple different satellite offices, or are there some remote? How does that look?
So we have our main offices in Fort Lauderdale. We were fortunate to find a building, and we bought a building before prices went crazy. So we're right downtown.
That's great.
So in the building's about 10,000 square feet. We occupy approximately 8,000 of it. We have a tenant that we inherited that has the other 2,000.
Law or something else?
Law, actually, employment law.
Oh, very cool.
Yep, employment law. And so the majority are on site. We do have a few remote, and we have satellite offices as well.
See, that's unbelievable. The buying of the building. See, we bought this office space, but it's not nearly 10,000 square feet. I would love a building. That's like a dream of mine. At some point, will be to find that building.
It was a dream. It was a dream of mine too. It took 5 years.
It took 5 years.
Took 5 years, but we finally got it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. See, that's why I admire you. I mean, you got this great business acumen, and you have an understanding of the growth and like investing in your own space. You know, there's so many people that they'll lease out, they'll take some long-term lease, and they'll spend all this money on a build out. And it's like, you could have had your own place, and you could have built equity in it, you know?
Yeah, yep. And I think that's how long-term you can build wealth, because, you know, attorneys can make good money.
Yeah.
But it's still a grind. I mean, you still have to work. You have to put the hours in.
Yep.
You know, it's not like Silicon Valley where it's just going to take off and technology is going to run your practice. Technology can help, but you're still going to have to run your practice.
Did you see that the McDonald's movie? I forget what it was called, but it was like The Founder or whatever.
Oh,
you
yep,
watched that?
I did.
I mean, like, and I had to completely not understand that or know the history, but like for like the McDonald's founder or one of the founders, it wasn't for him, like the light bulb went off, and it was like, you're not in the hamburger business, you're in the real estate business. Like, you own the real estate. It's a completely different thing. Then all your franchisees have to pay for the lease, you know?
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's a brilliant model for sure.
It's brilliant. Yeah. So I guess like even in law, like if you're an entrepreneur or you're owner of a business, like instead of keep doing that long-term lease, look around and maybe find something where you can actually plant your, you know, feet and then, you know, grow wealth within that, at least real estate that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And as everybody in Fort Lauderdale knows, Fort Lauderdale's growing like crazy.
Yeah.
And the land that we're on can go up to FAA regulations, so they could put high rises there.
Oh,
so
man.
I've already had offers, but
wait.
Yeah, I don't.
10, 15 years, and someone's going to show up and be like, all right, here's $20 million. You're like, okay, I'm ready.
All right, we're done. We're done.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
I feel like you do you read books? Are you a book reader at all?
I do.
I feel like you're like that. You read the books like like maybe the E-Myth Revisited, or you've read these books on how to run businesses. And what's another one? Like you never eat alone. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I think of you. Where you always kind of find someone to have lunch with. How's that? What's that like?
Yeah, I'm like I never really liked the term networking.
Yeah.
I'm more of a relationship builder. Like
Sure.
I really like to get to know people one-on-one. When you're in a group setting, it's hard to get to really know somebody. So the smaller the group, the more you get to know people. I've been fortunate to have lifelong friends. Like and a lot of my friends moved down from Pittsburgh because they saw what I was doing down here.
Yeah.
They visit. It was an easy sell, and I like to keep my friends close to me. But same thing with law school. I made great law school friends that are still some of my best friends to this day. And then from there, I become friends with their friends. And then your circle just keeps growing, but you really get to know people. And yeah, I love meeting up for coffee, love meeting up for lunch, grab a drink after work, and just talk. And what my friends would say about me as well is I always answer my phone. So if they call me, I answer my phone. The other day, opposing counsel on a case, and a friend of mine called me at like 9:30 at night. And I was genuinely worried. I was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And it was something about our case that just popped up. He's like, "You really do always answer." I was like, "I told you, man. If you need anything, especially if you're calling me at 9:30, it's got to be important." And it was important from his side. It wasn't really important from our side, but I still answered.
Yeah, it's funny because I never even like think of it like that. But I always answer my phone. If someone's calling, I'm going to answer. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, I mean it's a good attitude. I'm not big on what I like what you said. You know, I'm not big on like big networking events. I hate it. I hate going to those group events. I don't know if you go to like a bar association events or these happy like happy hour maybe, but like I'm much more of a one-on-one kind of person, or even like one with a couple people, much more smaller group. It's not easy. Like you really don't get a lot out of going to a big event where you're going and shaking 20 different hands, and there's really no interaction. It's kind of like, oh, they saw you there, you know?
Yeah, and there's no depth to the conversation.
Yeah.
I met up with an attorney friend of mine in Orlando. I was just in Orlando for a conference, and we met for dinner. And I asked about her dad. Her dad bought a place up in Jimmy Buffettville, just north of here. And I said, I'll never forget. He lives on Cheeseburger Way, and he all he would do is complain about like having to give out his address. He's like, I have to tell people I live on Cheeseburger Way. Yeah. And she's like, how do you remember that? I go, I don't know. It's memorable to me. And
that's hilarious.
It's kind of funny. She's like, you have a really good memory. I go, no, I do remember things, and especially that was just funny to me. So.
Yeah, listen. If you have an interesting address, people are going to remember it. I remember when I lived in Fort Lauderdale, because I talked earlier about where I lived during law school, but then I got a place with my wife in Victoria Park off of Sunrise, and it was like my directions was make a right at the Hustler. You know,
there you go.
Like
and everybody knows exactly where it is because you drive right by it all the time.
I think we were in law school when that Hustler actually was built. And it was this big, like everyone was angry, and there was a whole fight over the whole thing, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, that is funny. So, all right. So I understand you're also running for commissioner. Tell me a little bit about that, and why you'd be the best candidate for that position. Should I put you on the spot? Or
yeah, why not?
Yeah, tell me about it.
So Fort Lauderdale City Commissioner, District 2. I've lived in District 2 for a while. It's an interesting district because it encompasses the beach, and then it goes all the way west to Sistrunk and part of West Los Olas. I found myself talking to friends in the neighborhood about all the issues that we're having, mainly the flooding issues with infrastructure, the roads. And I hate when people complain and don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I found myself to be that guy, and they're like, well, what can we do? He said, well, you can run for a commission. I said, man, I got a business. I got all these other things going on. He goes, well, then stop complaining. I was like, you know what? You're right. I got to get involved. So I threw my hat in the ring. I've gotten great response so far. I love Fort Lauderdale. Yep. I don't ever want to move. And I see the city going in a direction where unless we turn it around, I can see eventually having to move. And I know we can turn it around, and I know we're going to turn it around. Fort Lauderdale has a budget of $1.2 billion, which is just an astronomical figure. Yeah. We need to spend the money the correct way, and it just hasn't been spent the correct way over the last probably decade. So we're gonna fix that, and we're gonna invest in boring things, as I say, like infrastructure, and we're gonna get it fixed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm wishing you luck. You know, I don't know if I can vote because I'm out here, but but that's great. We'll post this up and make sure that people see, you know, that you're running.
I appreciate it. Yep.
That's awesome. It kind of reminded me of when I don't know if you remember I think it was either Back to the Future or Back to the Future 2, where the guy's like, mayor, that sounds and he ends up running for mayor.
Yep.
Right. That's good stuff, man. So
sure.
All right, so I guess what else is on the horizon for the firm and for the practice? I mean, obviously there's going to be some growth, and you're here to help people if things come up, huh?
Yeah, so continued growth. We're going to open up more offices. We're going to hire more attorneys, and it's my goal to actually buy more real estate in the areas that we're going into, probably Port St. Lucie. We're in Orlando, somewhere in the Panhandle, Fort Myers. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. People are comfortable doing things remotely since COVID, but wherever I go, I like to make a difference in the community as well. And I think having a brick and mortar office, even if it's not as large of a footprint as our Fort Lauderdale office, will really help with that.
Yeah, I love that plan. We'll have to talk, and maybe we'll have to set up a whole separate, different podcast where we talk about growth and expanding and being able to manage all those different places. Because I mean, listen, it's a lot, but you're a savvy business owner and an entrepreneur, and I admire you because it inspires me. You know, I'm thinking about taking that next step. We're busting at the seams in this office, and eventually we're going to have to set up a second office, you know, and then how do you manage it? And how do you keep all the right people, make sure everyone's doing the right thing and the systems are in place? I love it, man. So how do people get in touch with you? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm easy to get in touch with. You can go to vanhornlawgroup.com. You can call the office at 954-637-0000. I'm in the office 6 days a week, most weeks, so you can stop by anytime, grab coffee, or we can meet at Doc B's.
Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram, TikTok, all those are at Van Horn Law Group. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, we're on everything.
Yeah.
And I got a solid digital team that makes sure we're everywhere.
And Nextdoor too, which I'm gonna have to look into.
You got to be on the Nextdoor app now.
All right, man. Well, listen, let's wrap it up. I really appreciate you stopping by, man, and it's a fantastic story. So thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
Awesome.
Cool.